World War III. In marked contrast to relations with Elon Musk, the Financial Times hears President Trump and Xi Jinping to pause hostilities and open new trade talks. The Telegraph reports the chairman of Reform UK, Zia Youssef, has resigned. It comes after one of the party's MPs suggested banning the burqa. The Times leads on migration. Its headline, "Migration could force reform of rights treaty." The Metro carries reaction from the family of Bim Kohli, a pensioner whose 15-year-old killer was jailed today. They say, "We've never heard like this before." According to the Eye, the government has banned senior executives at 6 of Britain's leading water companies from taking bonuses. That's also the main story for The Guardian. And the Daily Express leads on the 81st anniversary of the D-Day invasion. Its headline, "Never forget their sacrifice." Well, as I said, tonight we're joined by Tim Montgomery and Alison Morris. Tim, Alison, thanks both for making the time to speak to us.
Quiet evening.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, we haven't got much to talk about. Maybe not. All right, let's get straight onto it then, shall we? And we're going to start with this on the front of the Mail. Alison, not the main story, but that picture there, and the first friend and the president having a very public falling out.
Yeah, what a time to be alive, really, isn't it? I mean, if you did not see this coming, you were not paying attention. Two men with such enormous egos could never have remained friends for this length of time. I'm surprised it lasted as long as it did. But while there is obviously an irony to this, and there is obviously slight humour in the fact that they've fallen out so publicly and that they're doing it so publicly on social media, there is also a serious side to this. I think something like over 170,000 federal employees have lost their jobs as a result of Elon Musk's Doge cuts. And now he has just taken off and is calling for a new political party to be set up. He is attacking Donald Trump, claiming that he's in the Epstein files. Trump is threatening to take away all the billions of pounds of contracts Musk companies receive from the US government. And remember, this is a man who paid, was it $300 million to help get Trump elected in the first place. I think that this shows the rotten corruptness, I think, at the heart of the American system that allows money to buy someone into a position. And then we had the unelected, it's what he was, the unelected president of the United States, Elon Musk, in the White House, having his son in the White House, speaking over the top of the president to reporters, and it's all fallen apart.
It has, very, very public. Tim, what's your sense of it? I mean, Alison's right, it was always going to end. Acrimony, I mean, they sort of separated last week as if they were friends. He gave him a key. The door still seemed open, and then he assaulted him. Blew up.
Well, I've just been spending time on WhatsApp this evening, and a friend of mine had just said, who's very sort of in tune with American politics, says that he thinks that probably Elon Musk is the most formidable opponent that Donald Trump has ever faced.
Wow. More so than
someone
Putin
really,
anyone else.
in the sense that, we all know he's wealthy. He's been inside the camp over the last few months. He will know where so many bodies are buried. He has one of the most, powerful social media things that are all on our phones. He's already declaring war on Trump tonight, making the allegations that you've already reported. He's talking about setting up another political party in America, potentially. Elon Musk is not going to go away. This is potentially a very serious moment for Donald Trump. And, of course, Donald Trump is not sitting back and not returning fire. He's doing what I agree with Alison, potentially removing the subsidies for Elon Musk companies, including Tesla. We've seen Tesla's shares tumble, the value of Tesla's shares tumble tonight. We've had all these allegations swirling about Elon Musk's sort of drug use. There was those images in the Oval Office last week where he did look spaced out, frankly. Elon Musk will have his own response to that. What, sort of insidery knowledge does Trump have on Musk? It's not going to be a one-way street.
Yeah, I was going to say he may know where the bodies are buried, but that runs both ways.
Yeah.
These are two men who were up to their necks in colluding with each other in terms of what was really lining their own pockets. I mean, we know that Trump was basically preparing the way to allow Elon Musk. I mean, a lot of time they were playing with the markets. I mean, these people were up to all sorts, and now they've fallen out. And we're going to get to see what exactly was going on because they're not the type to keep that secret, and we can see that already. I mean, it's one of the worst breakups I've ever seen.
Oh, I mean, it's only just begun.
just started.
And the money is one thing, but as has been pointed out on social media today, Elon Musk was at the Pentagon not long ago. He has been inside the US government, and now he's on the outside, and he's not happy.
Senior federal employees were saying, what is this man doing? He's not elected, he's not security cleared. Why is he here? Why is he laying people off? He was cutting projects that were bringing, you know, life-saving projects, and he was cutting the funds to them, while at the same time too directing contracts towards his own companies. I mean, the whole thing was a shambles. I mean, the fact that the voters in the US electorate were allowing this to happen and still supporting this. And as you said, he showed up last week with a black eye, looking dishevelled, clearly twitching. I don't know what is going on with him, but I think that when Donald Trump thanked him for his service and handed him a gold key, which he says, I give these to some of my friends, you could see that things were not going well. Sent on his way with a box with
It's a weird gift to give us. I've never seen one of those before. I mean, it's on the front page of the Telegraph as well, isn't it? With that accusation that Musk has made about Trump being in the Epstein files. We have put that to the White House waiting for a response. He's provided no evidence of that.
Well, obviously we're reviewing the papers, and so the papers are fascinating, but you do kind of wonder what the papers will be in the morning. I said the papers are all still struggling to catch up with this, and some of the headlines we see now, I think they'll be changing, you know.
As a newspaper journalist, I can tell you that our deadlines are usually set in stone, and then something like this happens and the whole front pages have to get ripped up and redone. So in newsrooms everywhere there are people running around waving their hands in the air frantically trying to get this
I'm glad I'm not a print
around.
journalist tonight, because there'll be a lot of copy being ripped up.
The money is one thing, the security issue is another thing as well. But what does it tell us about US politics as well? As Alison's been laying out there was sort of an unholy alliance that had been made between these two people. The falling out seems to be because Musk was not happy about this big, beautiful bill. He said it can be big and beautiful, but it can't be both, right? That's an economic, political, it's a decision, isn't it? There are supporters within the Republican Party that must be on Musk's side for this. It's a bit of peril here for the president as well.
Yeah. Well, look, there's all sorts of reasons why Donald Trump won that election last year. And Elon Musk is tonight saying it was partly because of him. You know, the money he put in, the support he gave via X, the ex-Twitter platform. That's all true. But it was also because there was disillusionment about Biden's handling of the economy. And yet this big, beautiful bill potentially really inflates the US deficit, which is already very substantial. What happens when you inflate a deficit? You fuel inflation. Inflation was the #1 economic complaint of people about Biden. So I'm afraid we're going to potentially see, if Trump starts losing the confidence of the people economically, that is fatal to him. No president will survive that.
You can already see that happening. Trump did win it on economics. And I've spoke to people who were living in America, and here are also, Americans who have said at the time, Biden, there was such disillusionment with the economy. He went obviously hard on that he was going to go in, and within weeks he was going to change everything. The cost of living crisis, it was all going to be better, and none of that has happened. And in fact, inflation has continued to go up. And we keep talking about the price of eggs in America, but that is what it comes down to.
I was about to say eggs. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, it always comes down to the price of a box of eggs. But
well, Americans are obsessed with eggs. I don't understand.
Because it's the basics. It's things that people use to survive.
Scrambled. All right. Well, look. Plenty more to talk about, but there is another big story tonight, which I thought that we were going to be talking about mainly, Tim. This is on the front of the Telegraph. They're describing it as civil war as well. Picture there of Nigel Farage and Zia Yousaf, the now ex-chairman of the party.
Yeah, well, I'm personally really sad about this. Not sure I was pleased when I realised I was going to be on Sky Papers tonight talking about this. I've become a friend of Zia over recent months, and I've been in touch with him tonight, and clearly this is a personal tragedy for him as well. He has given so much of his time and energy to trying to turn reform into a professional organisation, and I think he was essential to that process. And for whatever reason, he's decided that no longer was...
What did he tell you? Why has he decided? Because he was on the airways just a few days ago defending the party.
The messages that he sent to me tonight are private. I don't think I should divulge them on air, but he's clearly very, very sad. This is not his choice. This is not what he would have wanted. And I think Nigel Farage is very sad about it as well. This is not a falling out between these two men, as far as I can work out. This is Zia Yousaf realising, I think, or feeling that the challenge of modernising reform was going to be too big a task, and perhaps beyond him.
And the catalyst for this, Alison, seems to be this question in the Commons yesterday about the banning of the burqa. Zia Yusuf then responds to that, saying it was a dumb thing to ask. There is then something of a pardon on social media when he's tweeted at by some right-wing commentators, and a few hours later he decides to quit.
He does, and you could see that he was coming under attack from some of those very right-wing commentators. And the fact you're saying that these two men are probably sad at this. I mean, there is a quote in that very story, because Farage was on GB News and said, not everyone got on with him, you know what, it's called politics. That wasn't saying, oh, I'm really sorry to see my colleague leave.
Oh, but he has also,
thanking him for all the great work that he did. And also, when you have a party that has grown so quickly over such a period of time, and you have so many members who all have conflicting views, all right, they all might be on the right, but there's people coming out and saying things. I mean, to say something like to ban the burqa, to think it's like populist, and it is a Trumpification of our politics here, but then you're always going to get anyone who has joined Reform for the right reasons, and I have no idea what the right reasons are, you might be able to tell me, but if they have, who are going to see that there's times when you feel like you're being handcuffed, and I'm trying to be nice here, to a bunch of right-wing maniacs, and that is not
You're accusing me of being a right-wing
No,
maniac.
I am not accusing you. I am saying that there are people in that party who clearly look over their shoulder and say, do I want to be associated with this? This is not the direction we're going to go, where we thought that we were going in. And the fact is, it's almost like one step forward and two steps back. So they were doing so well in the polls. Yeah. You know, they really have the Conservatives really under their foot at the minute, but you seem like they're almost determined to self-explode as well.
All right, guys, we'll have more time to talk about this. We're with each other until midnight, so we'll come back to it. Thanks very much, Alison Tim, for now. All right, so still to come on the press preview, we'll have this story, which is on I think the front of the eye. Yeah, the government bans the bosses of several water firms from taking bonuses. We'll discuss whether that is the right move after this break.
I'm Stephen Murphy, and I'm Sky's Ireland correspondent based here in Dublin.
All alcohol products, not just wine, will have labels warning of liver disease and the link to fatal cancers.
Is it crazy?
It's an industry worth around €14 billion a year. That's why Italy sees this Irish plan as such a threat.
It's always instructive and occasionally entertaining to hear what Donald Trump has to say on the issue of Brexit.
She's got her own way of doing it, that's okay.
The job takes me to every corner of this island.
The rioting stemmed from a horrific daytime stabbing attack at a primary school in the city centre.
The scale of the rioting and the destruction it caused is pretty much unprecedented here in Dublin.
Jerry, any comments on the judge's decisions? Do you feel vindicated, Jerry? This is the end, the somewhat chaotic end, of a 52-day trial.
Micheál Martin could be set to head back to government with the Taoiseach Simon Harris.
Are you confident that you can now return as Taoiseach?
I'm cautiously optimistic and excited.
A mystery press conference hastily called. Leo Varadkar strode out and didn't disappoint.
I am resigning as President and Leader of Fine Gael effective today.
The people here sometimes feel they're somewhat neglected by the Irish government, to the extent that this place is sometimes known as the Forgotten County.
The waters of Ireland and Britain should be home to great white sharks, but none have ever been found.
If there are great white sharks in this area, there's no reason they wouldn't come here to feed. It's basically a buffet on a beach.
This could be not only a record-breaking storm, but potentially the most dangerous storm ever to hit Ireland.
Sky News, get the full story first.
Our app gives you the very best of Sky News wherever you are. Breaking news, videos and analysis.
Evidence of the crisis.
Podcasts, watching us live.
Live here from Washington.
Wherever you get your podcast.
All in one place. And all at just the touch of a screen. The Sky News app. Get the full story first.
Jubilation in the streets, while some emotional.
This is a political victory for Prime Minister Modi and his Hindu Nationalist Party.
I'm Neville Lazarus and I'm Sky's reporter based in Delhi.
Companies like these are helping India in its trajectory
to be a serious player in space exploration. Sky News, get the full story first.
We've got your Sunday mornings covered. From the front page and the sounds of the streets to the voices of the people who make the major calls and big picture politics beyond Westminster. We'll put you at the heart of our story. I'm ready. Are you? Join me, Trevor Phillips, Sunday mornings on Sky News.
Hello there and welcome back. You are watching the press preview with Tim and Alison. So let's carry straight on with some of the front pages. Guys, let's have a look at this one on the front of the eye. They're telling us that water bonuses are going to be banned because of anger about the sewage scandal. Alison.
And rightly so. If you were running a private company, you wouldn't get any bonus if your company was failing, and it's failing to meet its targets, especially on water pollution. And you'll not be surprised to know that this is not just a problem on this island, but on the island that I flew in from this morning. We are having a real serious problem in terms of the amount of sewage and pollution that's flowing into Lough Neagh, which is where most of the drinking water comes. And the problem with trying to reform that and change it is that you have government coming up against the farming community. Intensive farming is obviously the cause of a lot of that sewage. Farmers are complaining that these reforms will put them out of business, and so you have a fine line for government to...
Is the water company owned privately in Northern Ireland as well? Excuse my ignorance.
Yes, yeah. And so you have an issue where this week the Minister for Agriculture has recommended a consultation. These came under fire from the farming community. He says it's not the right thing to do, but the fact is we have to leave this to the next generation, you know, to my children, to your children, to our grandchildren, and we're just destroying the environment.
Investment as well, or has been investment?
Well, I think it was that going for sort of growth strategy in terms of farming, and we've just got too much farming. I mean, I know nothing about farming, I'm a city girl, but there was a statistic this week that Northern Ireland is producing something like 4 or 5 times more food than we need to consume as part of that, and that is clearly adding to the pollution problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's for the public to see bonuses being given out to people running companies that every other week it feels like they're about to be taken into nationalisation. Yeah. The service isn't great, and there's the pollution problem. It's not been a good look, so that's where they had to act.
And water bills rising quite fast, so people think they're paying a lot more money for a deteriorating service, and then they're seeing people get bonuses. So I think this is probably wise politics from the government, and I think on a temporary basis, I think it's the right policy. But look, one thing, I'm old enough to remember British Rail, for example, before it was privatised. And the trouble is, when you have any company dependent upon the state for its funding, that company, whether it's a railway or waterways, they're behind necessarily the NHS or schools for funding. And, you know, politicians work on the short-term basis. And so they're always going to give money to nurses and teachers, etc. first. So there is a good argument for private control where these water bodies and other organisations are held accountable for long-term investment. But there also has to be consequences. If you mess up, if you don't deliver that investment in an efficient way, you have to be punished. And so I'm a big, as I just tried to make clear, a supporter of private enterprise. But when the private enterprises fail, there has to be punishment. And I think on this occasion that punishment is justified.
And the punishment is justified. OK, well, that wraps that then. In agreement around the table. Let's move on to the next story. This is on the front of the Sun there. They're saying it's an exclusive. It's a great picture of the man who's going to be Sir David pretty soon. He's going to finally get his gong. Alison, you're chuckling away. Go on, what do you think?
Well, no, he's put in the hard work, hasn't he, to get it? I mean, some people, they have these titles bestowed on them and others have to do the hard work. I mean, I think that when he stood in line with all the people waiting to see the late Queen...
Didn't push in as well.
That pushed him, I think, ahead in the sort of public popularity stakes. Before that, I think it had a bit of a reputation problem, but they're clearly very good friends with the royal family. You'll not be surprised to know as an Irish woman, I don't really have much interest in these titles or the royal family, but I do think if someone does a lot of work for charity, as David Beckham does, and he wants one of these gongs, well, then why not?
And he did want one, didn't he?
Oh,
that's the thing, he wanted it, right?
There's those leaked emails where his language is less than royal, I think, or less than knightly. But look, I'm a Man United fan. I had a season ticket at Old Trafford for 7 years, and David Beckham and Cristiano Ronaldo are probably two men who've given me more happiness than any other men. But it could have been like a mixed blessing there now for a Man United supporter. Because when you remember those...
Poshbacks is actually going to be a lady
He's
now.
going to be a lady,
So
exactly.
actually is posh.
He's posh.
Lady posh.
Yeah, lady posh. It's fantastic, isn't it? Well, I mean, congratulations to them. It's going to be announced, in the birthday honours list, I think.
Do you think he's aged well, Alison?
He does. He has.
You think he's a handsome man still?
Well, he's not an ugly man, let's face it.
That's not the way to put it. Not an ugly man. And on that bombshell, thanks, guys. You're going to stick around until midnight. Thank you so much for that. Now, coming up next on Sky News at 11, Elon Musk claims that Donald Trump appears in unreleased files related to the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. We have asked the White House to respond. We'll have more on that story, the very public spat between these two men, and the rest of the day's news at the top of the next hour. Do stay with us. We'll be back after this short break.
A show of military might and menace. Why should the West trust you?
Frankly, I don't care whether the West trusts us or not.
Sky News. Get the full story first.
Have a quick word for Sky News. Is the West right? Are you fueling Russia's war machine? American journalist Evan Gershkovich is on trial here, but was first on display.
I'm Ivor Bennett, Sky's Moscow correspondent.
We arrive. A secret hospital hidden in the Myanmar jungle, treating the victims of this bloody war. This is Myanmar today. Its military rulers don't want the world to see, but we have.
I fight for my own future. I fight for my generation's future.
This is an actual crime.
They don't care for that.
Myanmar army is only a couple of kilometers away.
So this is a major humanitarian disaster.
It is 11 o'clock. This is Sky News' extended press preview. Our top story. Elon Musk claims President Trump appears in the Epstein files as a full-blown public row between the two former friends erupts. Sky News has approached the White House for a response to the allegation that's blowing up Washington's biggest bromance. Also tonight, Russia's ambassador to the UK tells Sky News the UK is directly involved in Ukrainian strikes against his country.
I don't believe that Americans, that has been denied by President Trump, definitely, but it has not been denied by London.
Plus, Zia Yusuf resigns as the chairman of Reform UK, saying it's no longer a good use of his time. That's as Reform look for an upset in Scotland's Hamilton by-election. The count there has just begun. Well, over the next hour, we'll be discussing today's news with our reviewers, Tim Montgomery and Alison Morris. And later, we'll have a full run-through of tomorrow's front pages. Good evening. Elon Musk has claimed Donald Trump appears in unreleased files related to the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein as an extraordinary row between the US president and the world's richest man has erupted on social media tonight. Mr. Musk gave no evidence for his claim. Sky News has approached the White House for comment. Well, the allegation is the most serious salvo in an increasingly acrimonious public spat between the two former friends. It began when Mr. Trump said he was disappointed in Mr. Musk's recent criticism of his signature tax bill. Well, over the next hour, we'll bring you tonight's headlines and tomorrow's front pages and the views of our reviewers, the political commentator Tim Montgomery and the columnist from the Belfast Telegraph, Alison Morris. Guys, thanks for being with us. But first, this report from our US correspondent Mark Stone in Washington, D.C.
Is the only reason we can now send American astronauts into space.
We have all wondered when these two would fall out, but could anyone have predicted that when it did happen, it would spiral so fast? With one tweet, a truly imploding relationship after an extraordinary escalation in the space of just a day. Time to drop the really big bomb, Musk wrote. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. And then, mark this post for the future. The truth will come out, Musk wrote. The spiral had begun hours earlier, before those remarkable comments. It was in his lunchtime meeting with the German Chancellor that President Trump was asked about his old pal's criticism of the massive spending bill the president is trying to push through Congress.
I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot.
Musk hates the bill. It will raise the country's debt, he says, and he has been publicly critical of it.
I'm very disappointed because Elon knew the inner workings of this bill better than almost anybody sitting here, better than you people. He knew everything about it. He had no problem with it. All of a sudden he had a problem, and he only developed the problem when he found out that we're going to have to cut the EV mandate, because that's billions and billions of dollars, and it really is unfair.
Musk was watching, of course he was, and he shot back on X, of course, to his 220 million followers. Whatever, he wrote. Keep the EV solar incentive cuts in the bill, even though no oil and gas subsidies are touched, very unfair, but ditch the mountain of disgusting pork in the bill. He went on, in the entire history of civilization, there has never been legislation that is both big and beautiful. Everyone knows this. And then the kicker. Without me, Trump would have lost the election. The Dems would control the House, and the Republicans would be 51-49 in the Senate. Trump's response: Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave the White House. It didn't look that way on Friday, when the farewell seemed to be a fond one.
Elon's service to America has been without comparison in modern history.
Now Trump is saying this: the easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's governmental subsidies and contracts. I was always surprised that Biden didn't do it. And now Musk is musing with a poll whether it's time to set up a new political party. And then, late in the afternoon, the wheels came off. We do not know quite what Musk is alleging with his reference to Jeffrey Epstein. He and Trump were socially acquainted during the 1990s and 2000s. Epstein died in prison in 2019. He was awaiting trial for sexual abuse and the trafficking of minors. Sky News has approached the White House for comment. This is no trivial spat. It is between the most consequential president in American history and the world's richest man. Together, they have massive political and financial clout. We have seen what that looks like when they work together, working apart against each other. It could be so much more consequential still. And it just got very, very personal. Mark Stone, Sky News in Washington.
All right, let's see how some of the papers are reacting to that news. The Daily Mail reports on the dispute between Musk and Trump, highlighting the stir caused by Musk's claim that Trump is named in the Epstein files. On the front of the Times, Musk's Epstein jibe signals war with Trump, is their take. All right, let's get the thoughts then of Tim and Alison. I mean, as that package was going on, we were discussing that and more. Who would have thought it? Of course, it was bound to happen, and now we find ourselves in this very, very public spat.
Well, it's almost like a story that's changing by the minute. So
It's changing by the second. I'm afraid to look at my phone to see what's happening.
So it looks like you feel like your phone's going to explode. It's just like everyone seems like... There was a time, I've been looking largely at Twitter X, and there was a time when sort of Twitter seemed to go very quiet. Lots of people left it in protest. Tonight, it's back like it used to be. Yeah. Everyone is there because we're all trying to see what Elon Musk has said. But his latest thing, I don't know what you just picked up, but the latest thing is he's sort of saying Trump has to go, he has to be replaced by J.D. Vance.
Oh, he's staging a coup, and he also is now running a poll to his 220 million Twitter followers saying, does America need a new political party? I mean, this is the man who put 300 million of his own money into getting Trump elected, and it has lasted less than a year.
And gave the platform to Trump to get elected as well.
Oh, completely unfair.
Well, why don't you take him off X now? Will you take him off X now?
That's the threat that's probably hanging over it. But Trump's got his own one, hasn't he? He's got his own social media platform.
Truth Social.
Yeah, which is...
I bet you're on Truth Social, aren't you? You are, aren't you?
I'm on... What did you say?
Oh, are you on Truth Social?
No.
You look like the type of person would be on Truth Social.
You were calling me the right-wing maniac earlier. Now,
that was what I said. The party could be saying...
We'll come on to that story.
You're from my solicitor, shortly.
So look, everyone's got their popcorn out. Everyone is enjoying watching these two people fight publicly.
Well, should we be enjoying it?
What's the point? There's a very serious part of this. He's the president of the United States and the world's richest man. There are implications, perhaps, for all of us.
Yeah. And there's the other story on the front page of the Daily Mail there. Russia blames UK for drone attacks on jets. You know, there's some very serious things happening in the world.
But also while...
You had the German Chancellor with Trump in the Oval Office today, and I actually watched it live. I think the German Chancellor spoke for about 5% of the time. Trump was,
Right.
And this is one of the most important relationships in the world. Europe's biggest economy, and probably now rearming, which is a big moment in history, European post-war history. And you would just hope that the President of the United States was focused on his dialogue with the German Chancellor. But it's probably only one of 5 or 6 stories that we could be reporting a headline tonight. We cannot afford for the US